Thank you, worship team, for sharing your gifts with us. There was wonderful praise this morning. Some others I would like to thank. Last week at our church camp, we had a couple of gentlemen that donated their time and their resources with us. And so Andrew and Julian, they brought down their boats to our camp. And what you don't realise is all the work in behind getting a boat ready and getting the skis and the life jackets and the service. And then, of course, everybody leaves at the end of the day, and the boat guy has to pack everything up and then travel home, unpack it all again. So I just wanted to give a hand to those guys for what they did. In preparation last week, I was reading a little bit about creativity and the characteristics that you have when you are creative. We often think that creativity is just like in a church setting here. When you create something like the tree or your music or dance, and that's where we often think about that in a church setting. But I read an interesting study, and this study showed how creative we were. And so at the age of 5, we're very creative. And then it seems to drop dramatically by the age of 10, and even more at 15, and then by the time we get to adults, it seems like we're not creative at all. And I wonder how this new age of technology is affecting the creativity of our young people. The study talked about how we all have the raw materials to be creative. But it seems like the older we get, the less we practice it and we kind of lose it. I'm actually quite a creative, innovative thinker, and you're probably laughing within yourself at the moment. But generally more in a practical sense. I like trying to fix things, make things go better, find ways of making them go faster, save time, and look better. And so as a young man of 16 years of age, every month I would religiously go down to the local shop and I would buy this magazine called Street Machine. And I didn't have two suitcases I could put them in. This is only half of my collection. So every month, for years and years, I would go down to the shop and I would buy this. I would actually read the words as well as the pictures, and this would tell me about the fantastic things that you could do with cars. And I would dream about what I could do with a car. The Street Machine is an Australian magazine, so that was good because I saw the same cars on my roads as these cars were in this book. And that gave me a vision and a passion to create something like that. When evaluating what to buy, my dad and myself would often use the phrase, and I wonder if you've heard this, she has good bones. Have you ever heard that? She has good bones. I'm not sure why it was a she, but she has. Sometimes you might hear a builder say that today about a house. You might hear a car salesman say it about a car. You might also hear a boat builder say it about a boat. She has good bones. They're often referring to the chassis or the frame or the important part of the structure. If the frame or the chassis is good, then the rest is cosmetic. The rest can be replaced, modified, changed, and restored without too much trouble. But if the bones are bad, the job just got a whole lot more expensive, intensive, and hard work. And it might not even be salvageable. So I have a picture of one of my first cars that I did up, and these bones were good on this car. And this is the first car I restored with my dad. Very much supported by my mum on those late evenings when we were working in the garage. She would supply us with food and energy, and we'd sit down, have a quick meal, and then carry on. And so this is an old 1981 Tirana, and we pulled it apart, and we spent considerable time, and we changed it into the next photo of the red car. So we threw out the old 4-cylinder motor, and we put a V8 into it, and we painted it, and we made some side skirts, and I love that car. It's a shame 6 months later I wrote it off, but I did like that car. I really love doing restoration work. think early on in our relationship, Karen didn't quite understand this. I think she struggled with this a bit. And the reason was she wasn't immersed into the books like me. She had not read about the amazing possibilities that could be done with a car. She hadn't read about the people buying old wrecks or finding them in barns and transforming them into show cars or race cars, drag cars or street cars. She didn't have any vision in this particular area. Or as they say in our family, she didn't have any petrol in the blood. She could not look at a worn-out, rusty car and see the possibility of what it could be. She didn't have the experience or the visual picture in her mind. And why would you buy a set of mag wheels for a car? That's just a big waste of money. Cars are from getting from A to B as cheaply as possible. But what Karen did was she let me have a go. She trusted in my vision. She encouraged my dreams. And over time, I gained her trust in my restoration projects and in my wanting to be creative, innovative, and restorative. Then it overflowed into something she was interested in, houses. And we then could see the potential together of what could be done, together of how a place could be transformed, restored, and made new again. Over a period of time, my creativity influenced cars and boats and trailers and motorbikes and lots of different things. But it also influenced my work, my management in organisations, and my management of people. The restoration process taught me how to read and understand something, how to evaluate reality, how to look for options and solutions, how to use what is at my disposal to make things work, how to use skills gained in all my various jobs, how to ask for advice, how to learn from someone that is showing you how to do something, how to have discussions and move forward even if we disagree, how to see the potential in something, how to keep the finished picture in my mind to give me the enduring patience and motivation to carry on with the project. How do I use all of this in my current job, in my ministry, in the work Jesus is into, which is the restoration of people? You know, I have learned now that it's not all about my satisfaction. It's not about the satisfaction of what I do, of what I accomplish. It's not the look of it at the end, or the pride I might feel at the end by having it, or the praise I get for doing it. And so it's not all about transforming this, or these two, into the next two. It's not all about that. I have learned that they can all fade away. I have learned that paint gets scratches, carpet wears out, and motors get old. They don't quite look the same as when you first restored them. It's not my purpose in restoration anymore. The joy I find in restoration now is this, and I'm going to show you a video. Have a look at his face in a moment. that's the joy I get now. Seeing people's faces excited. The experience of when the fears are conquered. The adulation when achievement is realized. The look of excitement when something new is tried and victory is theirs. That's why I do it. So why am I telling you all of this? What has this got to do with the sermon? What has this got to do with God? Well, I can see now, looking back, that Jesus took 30 years to teach me how to have a restoring and rebuilding heart. But not only for inanimate objects like cars and boats and houses, but how to have a restoring heart for people. How to restore and give hope to others, not only physically, but spiritually. Jesus always sees our bones as good. He sees that which he created as redeemable. He sees what we think seems to be a rusting away, thrown in a junk pile, given up for a dead person. He sees good bones in each and every one of us. And so today I'm going to read you a story, and a story is called The Widow of Nain, and it's found in Luke. And so I want you to just read the screen. Hopefully it's not too small, and I'll read the story for you. So soon afterwards, he went into a city called Nain, and his disciples were going along with him, accompanied by a large crowd. Now as he approached the gate of the city, a dead man was being carried out, the only son of his mother. And she was a widow, and a sizable crowd from the city was with her. When the Lord saw her, he felt compassion for her, and he said to her, "Do not weep." And he came up and he touched the coffin, and the bearers came to a halt, and he said, "Young man, I say to you, arise." The dead man sat up and began to speak, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. And fear gripped them all, and they began glorifying God, saying, "A great prophet has arisen among us, and God has visited his people." And so I wanted you to understand a little bit about this story today, and we have a dead person on the table here. And so I want everybody in this group here to stand up, because we're going to use you, and everybody in this group over here to stand up. And so, all this group here. Basina, can I ask you to be the mother?
Okay.
Yep, all you have to do is stand, okay? So you come over here, and you can imagine that she is close to the coffin, or the thing that they're carrying him out on, and mother is not very happy, probably, because it's her only way of support, her only son, and he has passed away. And we'd like the rest of the group to just follow behind mum. Now, you don't have to wail and cry or anything like that, but I just want you to stand here. Now, I did say it was a large group, so you're just going to have to picture that this is a little bit larger than it is. But they're all following mum in the funeral procession. And then on this side, we've got a group with Jesus, and I guess, Chad, you're at the front, so you must be Jesus. Yeah? Okay? You may not be 30, but you can be Jesus today. So you stand here, and all your disciples and all the people that you've healed and are with you are following you. So you have to come out of your pews. Do they carry Bibles, Lidine? They are the Bible. No. Okay, so you're all following, and you're all coming towards here. Okay? Now, if you read the story carefully, it says they met at the gate. And so when you think about it, we need 4 pallbearers. So you guys, you can come and stand at each corner of the table. Yep. Each corner. So this is one corner. Right, on the other side, that's it. And you come around here. And so as they're carrying out through the gate, these 2 crowds meet. One crowd here is sad, is probably not focused on anything else apart from what's happening down here. And then we have another crowd with Jesus in front who's been healing and casting out demons and doing lots of different things, and the disciples, and they're all probably chattering and they're happy and they're talking about what's going to happen next. And they all meet at an impasse. They all meet at the gate of this city. And if you know anything about the culture back then, that if you were to touch the coffin, you would be unclean. And that would mean you'd have to go do some ritual for so many days or however they do it. And so nobody would have wanted to have touched the coffin. And we see that these two crowds are coming this way and coming this way. And I imagine, if Jesus had been 5 minutes late, like some of you are, the story would have never happened like this. He would have missed them. They could have gone down the road already, or they may not have been here if he was 5 minutes early. But I want you to imagine these two big, and it said large crowds. I'd use the whole church, but it would take us all too long to sit back down again. Two large crowds converging together. Okay, everybody, you can sit down. Thank you very much. Give them a hand. That was hard acting, that was. This story tells us about a son, about a man. This son knows nothing. This son can do nothing. This son feels nothing. This son says nothing. He has no behaviors. He has no life. He cannot move towards help. He cannot ask for some help. He cannot even think. It seems like it is too late for this son. There is no more life in him to change anything in the future. He cannot become alive by himself. He is being carried by others. There is considerable grieving because he is considered gone. There is a mother or a parent who is feeling a greater loss probably than anybody else. He is causing grief by being and doing nothing. He cannot ask for forgiveness. He cannot repent. He cannot be baptized. Here is someone that is similar to the lost coin, stuck in the corner of the house. And it seems like that the breath of God has left this body. And I wonder if maybe we can identify with some of the characteristics of this man. Some of us can feel like we don't really know much. Maybe we feel like we can't do anything right. Maybe we actually just don't feel anything. We think we are worthless. We have no good behaviors. We feel like the life is choked out of us and there is no joy. We cannot move towards help. We seem stuck. We can't seem to gain the courage to ask someone for help. Sometimes we cannot think clearly, or it seems too far gone for us. There is no more life in you anymore to try and change a single thing. We cannot become alive by ourselves, it seems like. It seems like others are always carrying us. There are people grieving for us because they consider us too far gone. There are parents who feel loss greater than others. We are unable and cannot bring ourselves to ask for forgiveness. We want to say sorry, but something seems to be stopping us. We are stuck and cannot move towards Jesus. We feel like the breath of God has left our body. I wonder if we feel like that sometimes. Maybe we feel like that all the time. Well, I want to show you some good news in this story. I want to show you some hope, some restoration. It's not about who we are. It's who Jesus is. It's what Jesus does. It's who and what Jesus sees. It's what Jesus touches. And it's when Jesus arrives. Jesus approaches the city gate. Jesus sees a woman. Jesus feels compassion for the woman. Jesus says, "Do not weep." Jesus moves towards the son. And Jesus touches the coffin. Jesus says, "Young man, arise." And Jesus gives him back to his mother. This story is not dependent on the son. This story is dependent on the rebuilder, the restorer, the innovator, the creator, the originator. Here is a story of restoration. Here is a story of rebuilding. Here is a story where Jesus looks at that body and he says, he's got good bones. I can make something incredible out of this. I can bring joy to a mother out of these bones. I can show one crowd happiness that they haven't seen for a long time. And I can strengthen the faith of another crowd. Here is a gospel cross redemption story. And when we look at it from a spiritual point of view, it depends on Jesus. Jesus approaching us. Jesus sees us as a complete man and woman, but lacking life. Jesus feels compassion for us in our suffering. And Jesus says to you, do not weep. Take courage. Have faith. I love you. Jesus moved towards those of us who cannot move towards him. And when Jesus comes and touches your coffin, your life, right there is the cross moment. Right there as he touches that coffin, the uncleanness transfers onto him. The sin of the man, or the sin that put him in that place, transfers onto Christ. Right here demonstrates what Christ did on the cross for us. He took that sin upon himself so that we can do what Jesus says next. And what Jesus says next is he goes down to the man and he touches the coffin and he says, young men, arise. Yeah, we celebrate. But he says, daughters, arise. He says, mothers, arise. Fathers, arise. Grandparents, arise. Young adults, arise. Singles, arise. Everybody, arise. Thank you, Caleb. You're probably pretty hot now. When Jesus gives life, others are affected. Others are happy. Others are blessed. The crowd sees Jesus' glory and faith is strengthened. He was created a kangaroo. Maybe after this video that you're going to see next, you'll now see the part that we have to play in this story. not only does Jesus send his Son to allow the young man to rise, he sends those next to you in the pews today to help. We, church, are called to be his hands and feet. We are called to befriend the lonely. We are called, man and woman, to preach the gospel of love. We are called to see the potential in others. We are called to give hope to the lifeless. We are called to resurrect those who feel dead. We are called to help build those who need rebuilding. We are called to hug those who need hugging. We are called to go out and bring people back to the family. Abster. We are called to bring life, Jesus' life, into the others' lives. You have good bones. Will you hear his call today and arise? Keep playing, guys. I'm hoping today that there's nobody that feels like they're that guy there. But if you do, you can come down and you can hear the words of Jesus say to you, arise. Or maybe you're like the family on the screen that had to go searching for someone. And if you feel you haven't been searching yet, come down the front. If you're stuck where you are, you can call out in your heart. You can call to Jesus and he will hear you. Let us bow our heads. Dear God, thank you for sending your Son. Thank you that our salvation is all dependent on what he does, not what we do. Lord, we just ask that you give life to these dead bones that are here today, that they know they are loved and that you'll show them compassion. And Lord, those of us who need to go searching for those that are lost, may you put that within our hearts. May we bring people back to your family. May your Spirit be upon us today. In your name, amen.